Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my impressions of the Destiny 2 beta. And I overall didn't really like it that much. There were good things that I liked that I saw mainly on the PvE side, but we saw changes in PvP that also affected what's going on in PvE, and I did not like what I was seeing or how the game felt. Now granted, I know this is a beta, and that they're testing everything, and this is an old build of the game. But it shows us the direction that Bungie is going, putting PvP more on top than on PvE. And we've already been burned on this bridge because I consider myself more of a PvE player, putting more stock on cool kind of strikes and on raids and doing that stuff more than PvP because I always took the PvP in Destiny to be what it should have been is just a fun kind of thing that shouldn't have had really any competitive bearing whatsoever since both sandboxes were being tuned. This has now had the adverse effect that they wanted to go more onto the PvP side, be more competitive, be more of an esport, and that has negatively affected PvE. So let's get into the realm and just kind of like talk about what's going on with PvE. So we got a story mission and a strike. I liked the story mission. I liked how it is showing more character interaction with like showing Shaxx and Cayde and Ikora and Zavala and all the stuff that's going on with the Cabal attacking the tower. That's cool. That showed and got us more into the action of what's going on in the story. I liked that. The negatives that start popping up are that we don't talk at all. And later on we learned in an interview that our character is going to be mute throughout the entire game. That's a negative, in my opinion, for the story, in that we are now no longer the main character. Our ghost is the main character because it talks for us. And that relegates us to the bodyguard of the comedic relief. And that really sucks. Granted, do we need to have giant dialogue lines? No. It could have been something similar to the Master Chief in the Halo series, who's short and to the point and kind of that way you don't have to have that much dialogue. Or go to a dialogue wheel kind of thing and just have us imagining what our guardian would be saying to these people and also having the different characters react different ways. That would have been cool. Now granted, I know that in the beta it's just a small slice of what's going on, but that really worried me. And I'm like, how's this going to work out? I know we're getting more story, and I was like, okay, that's cool. And when I'm going through the story, I see the kind of weirdness that's going on. I don't feel that the guns are as powerful or as cool, and I feel that I'm locked into using the two primaries because let's face it, yeah, they're called kinetic and elemental, but they're two primaries, and it takes a while to kind of kill out enemies. They've increased the time to kill. It's like they're trying to artificially lengthen the game with this kind of stuff. It's like, that really sucks. And the power weapons, it's like, why would you use a shotgun? Because you have such limited power ammo. Why? Because other things would be effective. Sniper, you do more DPS, but you don't really get enough power ammo to do that. At least you did in the beta. Now granted, Bungie said that they've tuned that, and that they've also tuned your super and your abilities. And this is where the bleed over of the changes of the PvP come into effect, in that it takes a long time to get your super up. And granted, I only played as the Titan because that's usually my main. I was screwing around mainly with the Sentinel, and a lot of stuff is not really well communicated to the player about how to use your ability. I had to try and figure out how to do the shield throw, and once I did it, I figured out that I only had one, and I'm like, well, if I don't hit somebody with it, there goes my supercharge. I should just pretty much get up and shield bash people. And that, of course, goes with the abilities taking a long time to regain themselves. It just ends up making you feel less powerful as a guardian. And that's not what it should be. In PvE, you should be able to feel freaking awesome. You're using space magic. You're fighting hordes of, like, aliens trying to protect the human civilization, and you just don't feel as powerful. Now, granted, I understand they're doing it story-wise of losing the light and the Cabal doing all that kind of stuff and having to regain your power and all that, but if you feel more powerful in Destiny 1, versus Destiny 2, what's the incentive? You want to have fun and be like going around and using your super and taking out hordes of enemies and using cool guns that do cool things, and it just feels like that magic is kind of lost, even though we've got a better story. And I also was able to use the Striker Titan mainly in the Strike, and I like the kind of changes that was going on with that. But you look into the subclasses and you have less choices too. You either pick one thing that's got a set amount of perks or another thing. It's like dumbing it down to a degree that really doesn't need to be. Because when you're in a game like this, which is kind of usually similar to an MMO, you want to min-max and kind of have different builds to do different situations. Otherwise, everybody can kind of change up their own role, except for the Hunter, who is evidently supposed to be more of the DPS person, and whose class ability really doesn't do much for help, because team-wise, because the Titans have the shields, the Warlocks have rifts that either heal you or like make you do more damage, and the other one's just, the Hunter's just the shade step. It's like, okay. And going into the Strike, it's like, okay, it was just a typical Strike. I mean, it was longer, artificially longer, because our movements have pretty much been made out to be the same. They've tried to even out the classes so that it's like it doesn't matter which class you pick, which defeats the whole purpose of having classes, in my opinion. Otherwise, you just go with a generic super soldier and you've got Halo. It's, to be honest, now granted, should Titans be the fastest moving class? Hell no. Hunters are the ones that are supposed to have the agility. Warlocks are supposed to be, I don't know. Since Bungie tends to favor Warlocks, their role seems to be the all-encompassing kind of thing, but Hunters should be the fast kind of like striker kind of people. Titans are supposed to be kind of in that back kind of tanky person, and Warlocks should, in all essence, be kind of like the support people, helping to buff the tanks while the Hunters take the aggro and kind of like flitter around the battlefield like doing stuff, being really super fast and everything, while the Titan, of course, is doing their own damage, but tanking stuff that the other classes can't. It's like they understand the archetypes, but are just doing things in ways that really just limit them. And the Strike, I didn't really like, mainly because of what I was dealing with, trying to figure out what was going on with the classes and being my Titan, and it was just like, okay. And just going around and hitting the boss. The boss was a bullet sponge. Yeah, it had phases and everything, kind of more raid-like. And I liked the idea of that, what should be done, but it was just like a bullet sponge, and since you didn't have your usual DPS methods that you had in the original Destiny, with like having your primary for certain aspects, special for certain aspects, power, like heavy ammo for certain aspects, you just pretty much had to wail away with primary, which wasn't doing as much damage as it should have been, thus leading me to believe that they're going for more people playing for more time. And you could just see that all this simplification is more for the PvP side. And it kind of works in the PvP side. You don't have to think as much with what you need to use for your character. But it brings its own host of problems. It's 4v4 all across the board, which I think is because they know they're going to drop people, and it's easier to find 8 players to fight with rather than 12. So, and also easier connection-wise for them to do things. And PvP was okay, but of course, I'm looking at it from the lens of Destiny 1, i.e., it was supposed to be just kind of crazy and not truly competitive, and I think they should have embraced that more than try and go for the PvP experience that they're going for now to be competitive and esports-like, which has harmed the rest of the game since they obviously think that they can tune both things at once, which you can't. You cannot have a PvE experience where you feel like a total space magic badass with awesome weapons and a competitive, balanced PvP. It doesn't work, it will not work, and we're going to see this come to a head sooner rather than later. Because the main people that are going to get the game and kind of keep it going long for the longevity in the long run would be the people who like PvE, going like, hey, here's the raids and everything, these are the kind of rituals we do. Because there are so many other options for PvP out there and competitive PvP that I think that Destiny just doesn't do enough to differentiate itself, especially since they've changed it to supers being like once a game. Now granted, I know they're tweaking and fixing it, and abilities being spammed less, but then you just start getting to that realm of like, well, if I want that kind of stuff, why don't I go do Overwatch? Why don't I go do like Rainbow Six Siege? Why don't I go do all these other places like Call of Duty and all that, since the time to kill is so much longer? It's the emphasis in Destiny 2 is pretty much team shotting. If you are by yourself trying to take out someone else, you're gonna have a hard time. You're gonna have a bad time. Granted, it can be done, but people can run away at such a rate that it's really kind of ridiculous. Then it gets into the power ammo economy, and granted, it comes up faster, but only one person can pull it at a time. Pretty much essentially saying, fuck your teammates, and having you run around with whatever power weapon that you can. It just, if it was another game's PvP, I really wouldn't have a problem with it. But this PvP is affecting the other portions of the game, and just really creating just a total disconnect of what you want to be as a Guardian. I don't even think Bungie understands what they want you to be as a Guardian, and I think that this game should really be delayed because it looks just the same as Destiny 1. I get the same feeling of what was happening with Destiny 1's launch with this launch. And I only have that because I lived through the Destiny 1 launch and all the subsequent releases of the DLC. Now, granted, I had fun with that game, but I don't see my friends on my friends list talking about it and being like, oh, this is cool. Now, granted, I've got to, like, talk with them to see what's going on because I'm heavily leaning towards not getting this game. But then the issue is I don't see anything else coming out that would hold me till any other games are coming out. That's the kind of catch that you're with, but I don't want to reward Bungie's practices of essentially saying that they know best over like their player community. Now granted, I understand that there's some that just will complain about anything, but there have been reasoned arguments for the separation of PvE and PvP that Bungie just refuses to listen to. And just like valid criticisms that are shut down because, oh, you're not a fanboy. You don't like this game or whatnot. Oh, we like this game. We have these criticisms and we just want this to be a better experience. And just seeing them going down these roads and doing these things and just putting in the microtransactions and having those potentially get even worse within this just shows that this isn't the Bungie that made Halo. This isn't the Bungie that would like really converse with their community, because the Destiny community is far larger and far more varied than Halo was. And Bungie is a completely different company, and I think making the deal with Activision was the wrong move all the way, and that they are on a time crunch, and that they will suffer repercussions if they don't put out a product. The problem is that is damaging to the product and the brand of Destiny, and I don't know what's going to happen with this game. I want it to be great. I was so excited to learn about Destiny 2, but once I play it, I'm like, I'm not having fun. I did this already. I'm looking for something evolved with this game. Something that like takes it a step further, rather than what I'm getting of just Destiny 1 was somehow less, if that makes sense. That's the feeling I get. Even though we probably get more cutscenes, we get more character interactions, we get more story, it just feels not as much as a sequel. And I understand that you talk about the fact of like, oh, you want a sequel of a game, but you want it to be different. It's like, you can take a franchise forward in such ways that keep what was unique with it while also evolving it and changing it without destroying what came before. And I don't think Bungie is doing that effectively with Destiny. They did it with like the Halo franchise. But I don't think they've got it with Destiny. They're just it's such a rush to get everything out now with their contract and all that it doesn't matter. We're gonna get something, but is it something that the fans deserve? I don't think so. I don't think we deserve Destiny 1.5 or even essentially Destiny 1 again. We deserve that Destiny 2 for what we've gone through and everything and to build more of our legend. I just hope that they are able to change some stuff and that they're able to evolve it over the course and make it what the community deserves and what the community wants. And I know this has more negatives than positives, but that's what I feel about this game at this point. I don't feel hopeful about it. I feel very nervous and just like, you know what, there's a lot of games out there. Do I want to waste my time on a game that I really won't enjoy? Where me and my friends could find something else to go with and do with. And that's why I'm hoping that Anthem has that kind of thing going with it. Now granted, since I was burned by Destiny and The Division, I understand that I've got a big old thing of salt and a grain of doubt and salt on Anthem. I'm like, I've seen what can happen. I want to know what you're doing. I want to see what you're doing, but I know what can happen. So, those are my opinions on the Destiny 2 beta and my impressions. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also, like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.